All right, all right, all right. Answers by guess. What up there, guess?
Listen, if you watched the Five Guys for Your Eyes preseason shows, we're a bit rusty and a bit crusty. We're late to the show. Hopefully, some people are here. Some people come in. Technical difficulties up the wazoo. No intro today. Let's just get it going. We're going to try and bang this out in an hour. Hopefully, some people hop on. We're streaming on Facebook. We're on YouTube and we're on Twitch. I put Twitch on. I don't know if I should have done Twitch or X, but I did Twitch. So that's right. Where we are. As always, Rob will put this on Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're listening on Spotify, you're a day late, but you're not $1 short because we're going to get it done. And this is like answers with guests, sort of.
With Rob, too.
With Rob. Intro into the season. We didn't do anything other than our 8 recorded shows. So again, Five Guys for Your Eyes. 8 videos have been out there for a month or 2. What's up, Mikey? So, hopefully you checked them out. We'll do a recap of a few of those guys real quick because, like I said, it's a special presentation. What's up, Craig, of Answers with Guests. That's our weekly show. Midweek because Rob's got 18 jobs. So I just have 2, being a dad of 3 and a teacher. So I have a little more time, especially in the evening. So midweek, this is where you'll find me. On Sunday or Saturday for the full slate is where you'll find us. We're Answers by Guests. This is season 8. This is episode 1. We're the inside scoop from outside the box. We'll talk about that in a minute. 2 guys in the basement. Call us whatever you want. There's Rob. I'm Guess. Our names aren't there for some reason. Usually they are, but we're rusty and we're crusty and we're getting older every single day that goes on. So we're just going to get into this. Like I said, we got a few questions that we're going to get to that people already gave us. Hopefully some live ones pop up now, but let's go ahead and do this. So Answers by Guests, season 8, episode 1. What is in store? Well, first off, Rob, I don't know about you, but in the off season, Rob and I were having some discussions, and we're both just sort of like, man, we're just not feeling fantasy at all. And this was like in the spring, and then like summer started to come. It was May, June. The draft happened, and we're sort of like, starting to feel it a little. We did our Five Guys with Your Eyes. So it's like, all right, shaking off some of that rust. We started to feel it. And man, I did 5 drafts in 5 leagues this year. I think that I found my happy ground with 5. I was up to 8 plus a couple times. I've been as low as 3 in the past decade. It was not enough for me. I think 5 is sort of where I'm at. But I did a stretch of 7 days, I think 7 or 8 days where I did 3, and I just was feeling this draft fatigue. I was just sick of it. Like I was so tired of just drafting, but luckily that part's over because we have games starting as soon as tomorrow. I'm ready for that. I'm sick of drafting. I'm sick of talking about people you should look at in the draft and where you should draft them because mostly every single time I draft and I wind up with a team, I don't know if you're this way, Rob, or anybody that's watching. I primarily play in 14-team leagues. If I'm in a 12-team league like our Dynasty, it's got huge benches, 20 guys.
Yep.
So a lot of the players are picked over. But yet there's still 8 to 10 guys who I'm like, I want them. But I just can't drop anybody. Give me more means I want so many more guys. I want to play in a league where I have like 30 guys on my team because there's always 10 guys that I'm like, I want to just have you. I want to have you. I'm going through it day by day. And this has sort of led it to me feeling that draft fatigue because I just want the games to start because I don't want to drop somebody that I drafted because I drafted them for a reason. But even though there's 8 to 10 guys out there that I want, I got to wait and see. I gotta wait, because the worst thing you can do is draft somebody, especially if it's somebody that you wanted to draft. I know sometimes you get stuck in a pickle. Everybody's gone. Like Rob sniped me in a couple times in some drafts. Some guy takes the guys that you really want, and then you get a guy that maybe you didn't really want, and yeah, okay, maybe you get rid of him. But even then, you had to like a little bit of something about him. So I don't want to get rid of him. But I'm always in a position, 14 team leagues or 12 team leagues with 20 plus man rosters. One 12 team league I'm in has 24 guys, and you could have 4 IR spots. So really deep. But there's like 5 or 6 guys minimum that I want. So I am very greedy. I want to hoard as many players as I can. And that sort of falls into my wheelhouse here, because we're the inside scoop from outside the box. I always want to pick up those guys that nobody's really looking at yet and just sort of hold on to them. So that's why I'm always sort of looking at these guys, and why I can sort of pick them out and share them with you a little bit ahead of time. So it leads me to this. Rob, this question's for you. I have one guy in mind. It's all I want is one guy. I'll give you a second to think about it. And if those of you who are watching, if you have one guy, one player, that whether you have one team or 10 teams, that you have nothing, you never got a chance to get him, but you wish you did.
I'll
give
you a second. Great question. Let me think about that one, because you know what? I drafted in the 14-team leagues, and I was picked 7. So I had 2 very similar drafts for those 2 14-team leagues that I was in. So for some reason, I wanted Kyren Williams this year. And I know you weren't very high in Five Guys for Your Eyes. You were mentioning Kyren Williams maybe taking a step back and stuff like that. But for some reason, I'm like, I need a good running back. And the position at 7 for those drafts, I'm looking at it as, all right, I'm going to go heavy wide receiver. I'm going to get one of the top ones, and I'm going to fill in my backload as far as getting that running back in that second round. I wanted Kyren. He would come so close to falling to that second 7 spot there in the second round. It was like the teeth wanted to grab it, and it was just like, nah, you know? So I would say, yeah, Kyren was probably one of those. And then I would say later in the draft, I wanted Mahomes in a lot of drafts. You saw Answers by Guest League. I ended up getting Josh Allen in the draft. Mahomes got the pick right before me with an auto drafter. And then I actually got offered the trade of Josh Allen for Mahomes. And I was like, I wanted Mahomes. I didn't get Mahomes. This is the opportunity for me to have Mahomes. I've never had Mahomes either in my life. All the years he's been in the league, I've never had him. For some reason, I wanted him this year. So it ended up working out at least there.
Yeah, definitely. I see. I'm going to throw these up here. I don't know if they're going to mess with stuff. I'm going to throw them up. They covered me up. Michael, he says Devonta Smith. Yeah, I feel like he's going to be I don't know if he's going to usurp, for lack of a better term, A.J. Brown, but I think if he stays healthy, I believe they have a new offensive coordinator. Yeah, it's Kellen Moore, right? The old Dallas guy. Yeah. So if they put Devonta in the Smith, the slot, he might have a huge breakout year where you might even see him being drafted above A.J. Brown next year. So that's good. Bijan, he was my number 1 guy this whole year. He was one guy that I wanted. The one league, I was 4th. And the guy that was drafting 3rd was Ryan. Huge Bills fan, and he told me, he's like, I was like, you sniped Bijan from me at 3. And he's like, well, there's no way I was taking a Jets player because Breece Hall. So I ended up with Breece Hall, Sean, Tyreek Hill. Okay, yeah, you weren't going to get him unless you're in the top 5. Excuse me, Marvis Harrison. All right, so all good names, and my name might surprise you a little based on something I think last preseason that I said. I was just like, or maybe it's 2 years ago. Davante Adams.
Ooh.
I wanted Davante Adams. He is somebody who has strangely fallen out of favor in the fantasy universe. And I always say, like, right now I'm like biting my tongue. I'm like, I shouldn't say these things because I should try and trade for him. He had 130 plus targets or something. He was like or third in the league. They got a new offensive coordinator. Gardner Minshew is the quarterback. So they had McDaniels, and then they had a mess of quarterbacks. Starting off with Garoppolo, and I think Stidham might have been in there a few, and then it was Ian O'Connell came in, and he still got a ton of targets, and he had a very successful season. Yeah, he's getting up there in age, but he's the number one guy other than Trey Tucker and a rookie tight end. And, they got the two running backs there, Zamir White, who I like, and Dylan Laub, who is getting some love from me as well. I think Devontae is just going to have a huge season. Look at what Gardner Minshew did for Michael Pittman last year. And I just think he's just going to feed Devontae. They're going to be in some negative game scripts. I love the head coach. I love that they stuck with him after making him the interim last year, Antonio Pierce. So he's just the guy that I really wanted. And Mikey's asking the question, do I think he'll be a Jet before the trade deadline? I would not rule it out because Rodgers wants him. If the Jets are doing well and Oakland's doing terrible, I think the answer is yes. There's a very good chance of that. So once again, we're the inside scoop from outside the box. What we typically do and talk about and try and help our listeners and watchers and our family and the Facebook group do is identify or at least be aware of players that nobody else is really thinking about yet. So if you are new to us, which I haven't seen anybody that's new to us yet, we do have quite a few watchers, so that's good. Or if you're watching us late and you happen to stumble upon us, you're not going to get what you would get from watching ESPN or something like that. Think of us like user reviews versus critic reviews. And what I mean by that is, like, if you go to imd.com or something and you look at, Roger Ebert or whatever, is he the one that's still alive? He's going to bomb a movie that the fans love. They're like, oh my God, the movie's great. The critics, they threw tomatoes at it.
Yeah.
But the users are like, this movie's amazing and whatever. So that's sort of like what we are. If you were to somebody were to ask the question like, what's your top 100, whatever. Have you ever noticed that if you go on ESPN.com, Fantasy Pros, CBS, they're all very similar.
Oh, yeah.
They all basically just have the same guys in the same exact spots. And it's like nothing's really different. That's not how I run things. That's not how I think of things. It's guide number 2. Universally, I probably will have them at like 18 if that's how I feel about them. And I wouldn't touch them in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
User reviews, normal people, outside the box versus critics, the people that are getting paid to do this who just regurgitate the same old. You're not getting anything extra from them. That's why you got to add us to your portfolio, because you'll get something a little extra. We might not always be right, but we're right a lot. And, the fans aren't always correct on movies, but a lot of times they have a better taste in movies than these so-called professional critics. And that's sort of how I look at it. So in the preseason, we had 5 guys for your eyes. We did 8 videos. If you haven't watched them yet, these are some of the guys that were on the list. And this was back in late June, early July. Is when I put the list together and we did the videos, we recorded, we put them out. Some of these names are popping up. If you're paying attention at all to the beat of the preseason and leading up to week 1, I mean, these guys, they're popping off. I'm not going to go through them. You want to hear me talk about these guys? I'm sure I will throughout the season. And there's more because there's 5 per division. I don't know how many I have here. It looks like maybe 21, something like that. So
good math.
It's about half. So you want to see more? There are more. There's a couple misses already. Kendra Miller can't stay healthy. A couple guys got cut, but that's where it goes. And that's how it goes. So here's some guys that I've highlighted. It's just sort of like, okay, their names are starting to pop up. And we were talking about them in June, late June, early July. So voila. With that, I take you to the week 0.5. 5 guys for your eyes.
I like it.
Number 5, the Seattle defense. Their week 1 and week 2 matchups are about as good as it gets. I believe it's the Patriots and the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. That sounds
Broncos
pretty
first,
appetizing.
Patriots week 2, yeah.
So if you are sitting there with like the Cowboys, right, who have a pretty tough matchup this week, if Deshaun puts it together, or another top defense, like even if you still think the Bills are really a top defense, they lost some guys, and I'm not sure their offense is going to be as good, but they're going against Arizona, who's going to have some firepower. Seattle is a perfect plug and play, and they're out there in most leagues. Their offense is going to be better this year. I don't know if it's going to be Geno, because right off the bat, we'll see. But I expect big things out of Charbonnet if he can stay healthy, and JSN as well. I think that's going to help their defense. Their defense was sneaky good last year. It was Seattle and the Bears. They were like, these two teams, like, you sort of got to look at their defense. But weeks 1 and 2, Seattle defense, they're somebody that you need to have your eye on, because if you're sitting there with a top-tier defense, Baltimore going against Kansas City, but you got some bum on your bench that you're just like, let me go pick up Seattle. I would much rather use Seattle this week than Baltimore going against Kansas City tomorrow night. Number 4, speaking of tomorrow night, Isaiah Likely. 5 guys for your eyes is not always going to be guys that you don't know about, but it might be guys that you're overlooking. If you're in a 10-team league, it's probable that he might not have been drafted, or not until the very end. Mark Andrews is banged up. He stays banged up. And there's talk of them using Likely in the slot. There's talk of them running a lot of 12 personnel. That means 2 tight ends on the field at the same exact time. We saw what he did for 2 years now when Mark Andrews was banged up. I got 3 props for you tomorrow night. If you folks are betting folks, right? Isaiah Likely, anytime TD. Last time I checked, and when I took it, it was plus 600.
Wow.
That means you bet $100, you win 600. I'm sure it's dropped. I haven't looked at it. I did it last week. But that is money in the bank. You put $50 on there, you win 300 if it's still at that number. Probably down to 4 or so, I would say right now. The other one, Rashee Rice, anytime TD. I think he scores a touchdown tomorrow. His is probably like plus 200, somewhere in there, so it's not as great of a return. And I'll get to the other one when we get to him.
All right.
Number 3, Jaleel McLaughlin. We know the name, came out of nowhere last year. He was a 5 guy for your eye before he came out of nowhere. Sean Payton loves this type of running back. And a lot of people will point to Alvin Kamara. They'll say, oh, Kamara, right? The pass catching, the speedy guy. I'm going to take you back on a little trip even further in the past. Somebody that, dare I say, was even more important to your fantasy championships that year than Alvin Kamara has ever been. Darren Sproles.
Ooh.
When he played for the Saints, he had over 100 catches one year. I had him and Jimmy Graham. It was one of my greatest fantasy teams ever. Those two were absolutely ridiculous. Jaleel McLaughlin is going to be your Darren Sproles this year. They're going to use him early and often. Now, I love Javonte this season. I think that another year past his thing, I think he will be the lead guy, but they're going to sprinkle McLaughlin in there, and he is going to be Darren Sproles because last year was a rookie, and they've had a whole offseason getting him acclimated. He's straight up their number 2. They got rid of P. Ryan. So Jaleel McLaughlin probably sitting out there. Somebody better have your eye on, be ready to pull the trigger on. Number 2, Malik Washington came down with a little bit of a hamstring injury. Miami needs a 3rd wide receiver. I did sort of, I think, mention him a little in the 5 guys for your eyes, but I don't believe he was a 5 guy for your eye. I think I just sort of brought his name up. I said I was maybe going to have him be a 5 guy for your eye, but decided not to. But I do think that Tyreek's a little banged up more than he's leading on, but he came out the other day and basically said, I think Waddle's going to be the best one on the team. It's like you're sort of, telling us that you're maybe something's not up. You're not into it as much. They've been needing a third wide receiver. They're not going to use their tight end, so forget about Jonnu Smith, right? Malik Washington's a name you need to know. Speedster, they can put him in the slot if they had to. He fits right in Miami. And number one, if you haven't heard the name yet, I hope you did. The greatest porn star in the universe, Carson Steele. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night, he's going to take the world by storm because they're going to use him early and often. He's their starting fullback, but he's a running back. But they want him on the field. People are going goo gaga over Samaje Perine because CEH is hurt. Carson Steele is going to be on the field. And ladies and gentlemen, you put in the bet for anytime TD for Carson Steele. He's upwards of plus 600. They will use him when they get close. He's going to vulture at least one from Pacheco, or they're going to hit him with a screen from 30 plus yards out, and he's going to bust it. Go ahead and watch the preseason video of this dude. Sexy with his long hair. The name, whatever beast of a sex man that you picture when you read the name Carson Steele, that is who he is. He's your number 1 5 guy for your eye. If you got room on your bench, you throw him in there. Listen, he's their fullback, but he's a running back. But they made him their fullback because they want him on the field with Pacheco. They're going to have plays where they hand off to the fullback and he pounds it in. He's speedy. He's strong. Watch the highlights, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, if he's out there and he's available, you scoop him up. If you got a bum, remember, the number 1 rule, Rob, everybody's droppable, but everybody doesn't have to be picked up unless you have somebody, who really is. You know what I mean? Correct. You don't go crazy with it. Questions from the group. So Keith wanted to know for the show, in the league, he has defenses this year. He has the Browns defense currently. Would he drop for the Jets? No. I think it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. The Browns this week's going against Dallas, but at least they're at home. And the Browns beat up some pretty good teams last year, especially at home. I'm just going to roll with the Browns this week, especially. What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I probably would say that it's kind of the same thing. You're going to have some weeks that you're going to get better out of the Jets. There are going to be some weeks you get better out of the Browns. So unless you can get both of them, that's what I would do and drop something else of importance because then you could play matchups. But I think if you only have one spot for a defense, the Browns don't drop them for the Jets.
Yeah,
even though I'm a Jets fan and I think they could be a top 5 defense, the Browns are just in that same top 5.
Yeah, I think this week at home against Dallas is a better spot than the Jets on the road in San Francisco.
Correct, with the healthy San Francisco and everybody getting contracts and all that stuff. That's going to be a really tough game.
Yeah, so I would just stick with the Browns. I think Rob will too. Questions from the group. Jason asked, Ford, Ramondre, Brian Robinson, or Zach Moss, PPR.
I'm going to add in something real quick on this. Henry is his other starter, so he's only looking for one.
Okay. I'm going to go with Ford. I think they're going to pound, and beat up that Dallas defensive line. I'm going with Ford.
I'm feeling Zach Moss. He was a raw bonus for a reason. I think that he and the offense, as Chase doesn't go, Zach Moss becomes that much more important. So right. I think it's relying on that. If Chase is playing, I would go Ford. If Chase isn't playing, I'm going Moss because you know what? Chase Brown and Moss may be on the field at the same time because they don't have that third option anymore. And we could see that both of them can catch the ball out of the backfield. So,
yeah, I'm fine with that understanding as well. Brian Robinson, I don't hate too much this year. I just think he's going to lose a lot of goal line stuff with Jaden Daniels rushing stuff in. But I like Brian Robinson.
And
Eckler you have Eckler.
Yeah.
And Ramondre, I just want the Patriots to not be as bad as I think they're going to be. But until Drake May takes over and it's not Brissett, I'm just not feeling it too much with Ramondre. So it's Ford for me. But if Chase Brown doesn't go, then yeah, Zach Moss is a heck of a lot closer.
I would say also with Ramondre, Antonio Gibson is going to get some love over there as well. He was one of your 5 guys for your eyes as well, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
I think that will, chime in, and they're looking to run a new offense. Remember, Bill Belichick isn't there anymore. We're going to see something, I think, completely different than what we're used to. So,
yep, I agree. All right, Keith asks, who you starting, Sanat or Likely? He's leaning Likely because he's sure the Commanders will lean with Ertz for veteran security for the rookie QB. Yeah. Sanat is a guy that I want if I have, well, actually, I do have Sanat in a league where I have Trey McBride because Trey McBride has a bye in week 11. Sanat is week 14. And he, by week 11, will probably have overtaken Ertz. I'm not playing him week 1. Not over Likely. Likely scoring a touchdown tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You put Likely in. This one's a slam dunk. Keith.
Yeah, I agree. Likely's the option there. Sanat, though, long term, I think can be really solid, though, man.
Yes, I agree. Jasenia asks, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love, or Kyler Murray? And I think somebody laughed at this, and I don't understand why somebody laughed at this.
It's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, if you have all 3, maybe that's what they're laughing at. It's like, wow, you have all 3 of these quarterbacks.
I think it might be a 2-league starter, too. I remember her asking questions last year about starting 2 quarterbacks. So
I feel like the answer is Anthony Richardson, but I think I'm going to go with Jordan Love, which is surprising because Richardson will have the rushing, Murray will have the rushing, but I just feel like last year until that final drive where he made the bonehead throw, they had San Francisco dead to rights. I feel like they were clicking. And I think they pick up right where they left off. I think they should be favorites against the Eagles, but they're not. I think that the Eagles will score some points. I just love to throw more touchdowns. And I'm not sure. I know Richardson said he's not going to change the way he plays quarterback. But Richardson and Murray both have lost full seasons pretty much. So I'm a Kyler Murray owner, 2 leagues. I don't own Richardson in any, but that's more by chance, not by choice. I'm going to go with Jordan Love this week. I just think it's going to be a back and forth. I just pray for their safety, to be honest, in Brazil.
Yeah, that whole entire Brazil thing is NFL just wants to make money. It's just crazy, man.
But I'm going to go with Jordan Love. I just think it's going to be more of a faster, high-flying, back and forth type of game. And I just think, it's a little bit safer. You're not getting the rushing out of him like you're getting out of the other 2, but I think he's got Marvin Harrison. But aside from that, you got more weapons, I think, with Love.
It's funny. I was actually thinking Anthony Richardson, but I'm going to go Kyler Murray. And I just think Buffalo is a reeling team right now. Their defense is pretty good. Don't get me wrong. But where is the offense going to come from, right? Yeah. So I can feel like he really, really has to prove a point that Kyler coming back, I think against that Buffalo defense is going to be pretty good. And I can see Marvin Harrison just kind of having a big game too, man. I don't think you can go wrong with any 3, to be honest with you.
Yes, I like all 3 this week.
I like the matchup for some. I don't know why I'm feeling that Arizona has something to prove, and they're going to prove it week 1 against a Buffalo team that there are so many questions on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I think all 3 are going to do fine because I think that Houston-Indy game is going to be
I'm starting Richardson in 2 leagues too. Yeah. So
I don't think you can go wrong. Wake up Sunday morning. Oh, it'll be too late because Love's Friday. Wake up Friday morning, go with your gut. I'm going with Love. Rob likes Murray, but we both like all 3. So good luck, Jasenia. Thanks for being with us. Josue says he's got Robinson Jr. as his RB2. He doesn't feel good with him against Tampa. Would you start Dowdle? He's their guy. And I think there's another question that we have on here about these Dallas backs. Dowdle's their guy, but that Cleveland defense is real. And they're on the road. I might just go with Robinson Jr. in this one. I want to see it out of Rico. They just have, I know Delvin Cook's a shell of himself. He was last year. I know they didn't use him much, but Zeke was okay last year for the Patriots when Ramondre went down. They got Deuce Vaughn, who they're going to be using. He's going to be a surprise for a lot of people. I'm going to go with Robinson Jr. Yeah, he's got Eckler, and yeah, he's got Jaden Daniels, but I just think that he's going to be able to pound out a little more yards and be on the field a little more often. So I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that defense for Cleveland, too, is going to be rough. So Robinson Jr. has a better matchup.
Yep. Michael says tight ends his weak spot is Conkler and Hunter Henry. Which one should he start? Bengals gave up the most yards to tight ends last year. Yeah, you can't go too much off of that last year. But I'm just generally down on Conklin. Rob might have a different answer. It is Monday night for the Monday Night Magic.
I think Conklin's being overlooked in a lot of leagues, to be honest with you. But go ahead.
He seems to be. But I'm going to go with Hunter Henry here as well. I mean, he's the vet on the team.
I'm going to go with Hunter Henry as well, just because of the weak matchup, to be honest with you. Season-long, Conklin, I think, can surprise a lot of people. If Aaron Rodgers is on and the way they're really boosting these Jets, I'm kind of praying that that's going to actually happen. I can see Conklin being that odd guy that everybody thinks it's going to be Corley or Gibson or Lazard. A lot of Conklin's that safety net. And
Ruckert.
There you go. Sorry, I know you like Jeremy, but I think you're going to see tight ends being used more now on the Jets than we've seen for years. So,
well, A-Rod doesn't like throwing to him, but I think we talked about it in Five Guys for Your Eyes. He's going to want to get the ball out quick and not get hit as much. So I like Hunter Henry this week. I'm just down on Conklin, but it could be something that I'm wrong on because what Rob's saying makes sense. But Hunter Henry from us both. Jeremy, general question. It is week 1. You start your starters, right? There's a reason why you drafted them where you did. Yes and no. Yes and no. Fantasy football is not cookie cutter. There's no rules. There's no rules. And you can't play fantasy football or head into a season thinking there's rules. You can't head into a draft thinking there's rules. I can't take a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. I can't draft Bijan first when there's Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb out there. I can't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. You don't win doing what you're supposed to do. You do what's the right thing, what you feel is right. So Jeremy and anybody else, you do what you think is the best. Now, it's interesting that he asked this question because I myself asked myself a similar question. I said, should I be putting one of these guys in? Paraphrasing here. And I said, you know what? I think these guys are the best guys. I'm going to give them the shot because the matchups are similar. And that was the key. If somebody has a glaringly much better matchup, like the Seattle defense over the Baltimore defense, you're not going to play the Baltimore defense because you drafted them first. You're going to play the matchups, Jeremy. You've been around long enough that you should understand this. So if you are questioning putting a bench guy who is a bench guy now in over a starter, if the matchups are similar, if the opportunity is similar, like Sean says, you play to win the game.
You play to win the game.
You're not going to win being safe. And if it's one thing you should take away from Answers by Guess in the 7 going on 8 years we've been doing this is we like to live sexy. If you couldn't tell just by looking at us, we don't toe the line. We pretty much just run over it.
Oh, yeah.
Matchups are always the key, Marty. You are dead on.
Okay, real quick, just a real chime in on that last one.
Yep.
From a defensive perspective, I drafted the Detroit Lions in a league this year. I have 2 guys that ended up on IR. I'm actually going to pick up Cincinnati this week to play against New England compared to Detroit. The reason I'm keeping Detroit on my roster is because obviously I drafted them. But again,
Right.
I'm going out to the waiver into the free agents right now to be able to go and pick up another defense, knowing that matchup this week is better than the matchup I have with Detroit that is playing Sunday night against the Rams, who everybody's thinking their offense is going to be fantastic.
Exactly. I drafted Dallas defense, and then it got around to the last round, and I was just like, you know what? I don't like their matchup that much. I don't like how their offense is with CD, barely having any practicing, and their running back situation. I said, since he's out there, I'm going to grab them for week 1 because Cincinnati has a nice matchup in week 1. So that's what I did. So technically, Dallas is my starting defense, but defense isn't the only one, right? We're just using these 2 examples. Yeah. But it goes for them all. I drafted Terry McLaurin somehow because Rashee Rice was way down draft boards before I drafted Rice. But I have Rice in as a starter, and I've had him as a starter for this week ever since the draft ended. I drafted Terry McLaurin as my 3rd wide receiver, but I want Rice more this week because I think that game's going to be more back and forth. I think he's the best wide receiver they have. And I just like him this week to score a touchdown. McLaurin could do the same thing, but I'm not going to play McLaurin over Rice because I drafted him before him. Play the matchups. Landon, glad football is back and with a great group of ABG. That's us. Question for tonight: should I pick up the Texans defense or hold the Chiefs defense? I think that we gave you Cincinnati and Cincy, right? So unless you're talking about only the ABG league where I don't think either one is available, I would just hold the Chiefs. Both of them are going to have matchups where I think points are going to be scored. I think the Chiefs as a whole are probably a better defense than the Texans. So you might as well just hold. It's very close. They're at home in this one. It is opening night. They got lambasted last year and upended by Detroit in the same exact game. They're going to be a little more ready for this one. So I think I would just hold on to the Chiefs unless you could pick up Seattle or Cincy. But I'm not dropping the Chiefs to pick them up. I'm dropping somebody else. Right. And then he said also hold Wicks or any other suggestions to pick up. Man, I can't read that because I'm old. Wandale, is that Pearsall?
Yeah.
Yoshivas, Thielen, Dortch.
Mooney?
Luke McCaffrey is their number 3, and that's Mooney. I would just hold Wicks. Just hold him. None of those guys are going to be game changers for you right off the bat, unless Luke McCaffrey comes out of nowhere and kills it as the 3rd wide receiver for Washington. I just hold Wicks. Wicks came on late in the year. He's, I think, their 2nd best wide receiver. 3rd at worst if you say Jaden Reed, Dubs, then Wicks, because I don't think it's Watson. We'll find out, but I don't think it's Watson. I would just hold on.
Yeah, add Dortch to your watch list, though.
Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good.
Braden, question for the show. What do you make of the backfield situation in Dallas? Okay, so here it is. Do they go with what they know in Zeke or eventually try to face Dalvin in? I think Dalvin is a corpse. I think he's there in case. We'll see. But he was starting to lose it a little bit in Minnesota. And then last year they just didn't use him, but he didn't look good when he had the ball, but it was the Jets. But Brees looked really good when he had the ball. So there goes that. And Zeke looked actually pretty good, surprisingly, when Ramondre went down. He was putting up a ton of points. But Rico's the number 1 guy. And like I said, Deuce Vaughn is they're going to use him. Whether they put him in the slot or they put him on the field at the same time, 2 backs, he's gonna surprise this year. The fans love him. He was a draft pick last year, didn't get on the field much. So if I'm picking up any of them, Delvin is the last one. And I would have to have a string of injuries and a couple bottles of whiskey to make me even do that. I'm not worried about Dalvin Cook, and I will let somebody else deal with that headache. It's much like Kadarius Toney a few years ago that you all dropped your pants for, and I told you not to.
Deuce Vaughn was a raw bonus last year. Throwing that out there.
Darren asks, James Cook, Kamara, Dell, Keenan Allen. Which one am I sitting?
Ooh, good question.
I will tell you my initial reaction. I did look at some of the comments. I think most people said to sit Keenan Allen. And I can see that because I do think Odunze and I do think DJ Moore and I think DeAndre Swift is going to have a season. People are going to be so pissed off that they waited so long and never took him. They paid this man money. He is going to be a dump down machine for Caleb Williams. You got to realize he played for Philly last year. Philly doesn't dump the ball down to running backs. So that's why he had the type of season he had. He's going to have a year for Chicago. And it kind of sucks because I love Roschon. And you know that we all love Khalil Herbert. But they're going to use those two. But Swift is going to be killing it. But anyways, back to the question. So I get the understanding. But I think Caleb Williams, I think he's going to have a game. If there's one game that I think is a lock, I think the Bears winning at home in his opener against the Titans. I think this game's going to be high scoring. I think there's going to be some defense, maybe at least one defensive touchdown. I think Caleb Williams, he grew on me, Rob. You go back on this show last year, I couldn't stand him. I was like, I don't know why he's going number one. Dude, all I do is watch a couple preseason games. I'm like, okay.
He looks like Mahomes, dude.
It's absolutely ridiculous. He's grown on me. I kind of am in love with him, but not really.
He's available for trade if you need.
Well, here's the thing. If you remember, season 6, it might have been, the Bears became my second favorite team as a Packer, which is sacrilegious. But like they're going to be impressive this year. I really think that Caleb Williams is going to have a game. But there's so many weapons there. And Kamara, he's fresh. I want to use him when he's fresh. So I'm playing him. To me, I'm not big on Keenan Allen because he's a sit-down old man. To me, it was between Cook and Dell of which one I'm sitting. And it was like people are just going bonkers for Tank Dell. And I get it because how great he was. But they got Diggs now too. And they got Mixon, an actual running back, not Devin Singletary anymore, or all of a sudden 60-year-old man Damian Pierce last year that showed up. Dell's going to have his splash plays. This is full PPR. I think I'm sitting James Cook. I think. Because you're going to have a splash play from Dell. Keenan Allen's going to be a possession guy, the full PPR. He's going to catch 8 passes. This game, they're going to be high scoring. Caleb Williams is going to show off. I can't sit Kamara week 1. I'm going to sit James Cook. I think Ray Davis is going to really, and he was a raw bonus. I think he's really, really going to eat into James Cook this year, and he's going to sour a lot of mouths of people that took James Cook early. I think the Bills found what they like in Ray Davis. He can punch it. He's a 3-down back. He really is. And there's times where James Cook just didn't look the part. There's times where he looked amazing. I'm sitting him. I think it's a split. And with Keon Coleman and some ragtag fellers in this Arizona game, I'm going to sit James Cook. Full PPR did it for me.
If it's full PPR, I agree. I think James Cook would probably. Dell was very close for me. I want to see how that first game looks in Houston, like you said, with everybody that now they have on that team. I just Dell was the first one that came to my mind. I thought about the sit down old man for Keenan Allen, but I agree with you. I think Caleb Williams actually is going to be somebody that is going to look to spread the ball. Because again, the way I see, he plays like Mahomes. Like the way he moves outside of the pocket, he looks fantastic, man. Let's see if he lives to the hype, though.
Yeah, I'm going James Cook. They get close. It's Allen or Ray Davis. I really think they're going to try and let Ray Davis shine. And if he's a name you don't know, you should have watched the videos because Rob gave you that. That was our first video we did.
It was.
AFC East.
And you got to forget Schultz and Dalton Schultz is still there too for Houston. So that's another mouth to feed as well. So
I'm not as high. You all know I love Tank Dell, especially if he was last year. I think he was a 5 guy for your eye before his explosion. And he exploded. Then, unfortunately, he got hurt. It pretty much killed my team. I had Nick Chubb last year, Tank Dell. Once those two went down, bang, bang, my team just died. But, like, I love Tank Dell. Nathaniel is his name. But he'll have a splash play, and I think that game's going to be a little more back and forth than the Buffalo-Arizona game. That's why I'm sitting James Cook here, Darren. So good luck. And that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Beautiful. You want to go through some of these comments here?
I
mean, we kind of did already, right?
Yeah, we kind of touched on them, and that's all right.
I do want to put Sandy's on there because she's trying to make fun of me that I'm a Jets fan wearing a Vikings jersey. Yeah. Everybody knows that the Vikings are my secret favorite team.
Listen,
it's the way he loved Chicago.
They're in two different conferences. It's okay. My second favorite team, pretty much since their existence, has been Houston. When they came in the league and they were terrible, but they were a new team, I was kind of like, you know what? Andre Johnson, he's one of my favorite all-time players. I loved him even when he played for Miami Hurricanes. So, like, there's always been Houston and Green Bay. So you can have one in each without a problem. And I like the Bears, which is weird. And I've always sort of liked the Lions. I've never liked the Vikings, though. Ever.
I don't know, man. Robert Smith back in the day, Randy Moss, Culpepper. I loved them. I loved them. Do you want to go through the games? You kind of mentioned them already, but just to recap a little bit.
Just real quick. I mean, we kind of put it in.
So Thursday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. Rays and banners. Possibly a storm supposedly could come through. Not going to make, I don't think, that big of a difference, but you like Likely. You got that plus 600, man. That was awesome. That sounds like I might be looking into that as well, to be honest with you, because I wasn't high on Likely, but he's starting to grow on me a little bit more and more as we're going here.
Listen, I'm telling you, if it's possible, like you got $10, do all 3 of them. Do Likely, the sexiest porn star in the universe, Carson Steele, and Rashee Rice. Dude, $10 probably pay like $1,000 at least. Those 3 in a parlay. I wonder what it is. Maybe more. I could see all 3 of them because Likely's not that out there. I mean, who else are they going to throw to? Like, come on. He's going to throw to the tight ends or Derrick Henry's going to punch it in. But I think Likely's going to get a T. Rashee Rice, I can't see a reason he doesn't. And I just feel like if they get close or even if they don't, they're Carson Steele. It's the opening day. He's going to flash. He's going to be a name. I think Baltimore's going to win this game. I really do. I think Baltimore controlled the AFC last year. A lot of people were down on Kansas City. We thought they weren't as good. We know they ended up winning the Super Bowl. That's what champions do. They get the best quarterback in the league, best coach in the league. They pulled it together. But last year, Detroit came into the building and surprised them, and Detroit was that up-and-coming team. Baltimore is that team. Like, they last year when they played, they got away from their game plan. They didn't run the ball at all. They're going to come in this game. They're going to pound. They got Derrick Henry now. I think they're going to control, try and keep Mahomes off the field. And when they get close, they're going to have 2 tight ends. Like I said, I think Baltimore wins this game. I do think we get into the mid-20s, 27-23, 26-24, something like that. But it should be a good one. I'm excited. I'm very excited. So you're going to play your guys. Yes, Jeremy. Rashee Rice should be in your lineup. Kelsey, of course. Pacheco, Henry. Flowers, probably, likely Andrew, all those guys. Put them in your lineup. You could pick up Carson Steele. You could play him, but there's no reason to right now. Yes, I have a great feeling. Yes, I think he's going to score a touchdown. I think he's going to be a top waiver wire ad next week, but there's no reason to play him. Everybody's healthy. It's week 1, right?
I agree.
So let's see. Let's see what happens when we come back Sunday morning, because that's when we're going to do the full slate, right? Sunday morning.
Yep.
We'll see how right or how wrong I was. Maybe he comes out looking like Fred Sanford, and they're like, "Man, that guy ain't sexy at all. What the hell is Guest talking about? He needs a cane." We'll see.
Mike wanted to throw out this one. He has his loco prediction. He says Worthy 2 touchdowns.
Oh wow!
On Thursday.
Okay.
Especially with Hollywood out. I know you're on Raji. He just wanted to throw that out there saying 2 touchdowns from Worthy on Thursday.
Yeah.
All right. Going on to that Friday game, we talked about Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. This one's the Brazil game. Crazy what's going on over there, the extra protection and all that stuff. Hopefully these guys stay safe. Go for it, bud. Recap.
Yeah, I think the Packers should be favorites, and it's tough because I don't know if that's with my heart or with my head. But you all know, like, if you've been around for years, like, I'll straight up tell you, I don't think Green Bay's winning this game. And if I don't think they are, I think that they could win this game. I really do. I liked what I saw towards the end of the year. Yeah, a whole offseason went by. But this team didn't really change too much. I just think their running back got better. They got Josh Jacobs. And I think that he, in his career right now, is better than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones had a great season towards the end and in the playoffs once he was healthy. And they started to actually use him. But I think that that's what they're going to do. And I think that this game is going to be a little more high scoring because I do think that these defenses are a little worse than Baltimore and KC. I think this one gets to 30s, 34, 31, 33, 30, somewhere in that range. I do think the Packers win. I think Dubs, we got to keep an eye on his hand. Mm-hmm. If you're very thin, if you're very thin at wide receiver, he's worth a shot. But if you got somebody else, like in one league, a dynasty league that I'm in, I was going between him, Jerry Jeudy. I might just go with Jeudy. Because I just think I'd rather not put Dobbs out there on Friday and have something happen with his hand. They got so many other weapons. We talked about him, Wicks. We'll see if Watson shows up. They got the 2 tight ends. They got Jaden Reed, Jacobs, Lloyd. So why not do that? I'll just throw Jeudy out there his first game with Cleveland. Let's see if they use him. Deshaun can't throw the ball more than 5 yards. That should be perfect for Jerry Jeudy. So if it's a situation like that, you bench him. But again, it's week 1, and if it's not a dynasty league like that, where you might be a little short and you got to run 4 wide receivers out there like I do, then you probably don't have to make that choice. But I'm fine with obviously the top 2 guys. Goddard is somebody that I'm a little worried about this year. They sort of went away from him a little bit last year, but they have the new Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator, and he likes to use the tight end, and maybe they start to use Goddard a little bit more this year. But I think
like Goddard's health was a big thing last year that
he's banged up again.
And he is banged up again.
He's banged up again.
Yeah, something to pay attention to.
Saquon is going to be very interesting. 2 new running backs in this game with their new teams, 2 very solid offenses and pretty good defenses. And I'm excited to see just what the environment looks like in this place. I think it's ridiculous. It's on freaking Peacock.
Yeah.
So good luck. I'll be able to watch it. Don't ask me how, but I will. But that's Peacock, Brazil. It's all garbage. And I think Green Bay is going to win. I really do. Would not be surprised if they lost, but I think they're going to win. And I think that they're a pretty good pick. I think the 2 dogs in these games are the right picks.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to the 2 running backs in this one, man. It's new teams. What are they going to do? Real quick, another Mike local prediction. He says Barkley's going to win MVP this year. He's going to be Christian McCaffrey when he joins San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with that. I think he could be really good.
It's going to take away from the tush push.
Yeah.
But I also have a feeling that it's going to trick some people early on because they're still going to push that tush. They think that they're going to give it to Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
And then just when you think that they're not going to, they're smart like that.
I like it.
So we'll see. These are going to be the NFL did a nice job. These are going to be two good opening games. First time ever we had a Thursday and a Friday.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I had draft fatigue and I'm pumped up. I'm ready for the season. And Rob, we did the show in under an hour.
I love it. Yeah. Guys, remember, always look for those hashtags, Answers by Guests, and ABGFF. Always remember to follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, get there on TikTok. We're on Patreon. This is going to be on Spotify. Listen to us. We appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to share and follow. All right, guys. Best of luck. Football starts tomorrow.
Yeah, best of luck. I'm going to be turning in shortly and working tomorrow. So if you have questions and I don't get them answered, hopefully there's a tidbit in the show that you can go back and pull something out of. But Sunday morning is going to be the show.
Yep.
So stay tuned for a time, probably around like 10 a.m. on Sunday. And we're going to try and keep it again under an hour so that we have enough time to do what we need to do to prepare ourselves as well. So if you're watching or listening to this now, pay attention to the updates. I'm going to keep posting. I think that's going to be my theme for the year, GIFs and nonsense like that, pictures. It's kind of fun. So just pay attention. And it's probably 10 a.m. Eastern Sunday. So we hope to see you there.
All right, guys. Answers by Guests, the inside scoop from outside the box. Peace.
Good night.